Hello all fellow Sony users. This is going to be my early 2017 wish list for things I believe Sony needs to fix on the a6300 and a6500 by releasing one or several firmware updates for these cameras. The a6300 and 6500 are both really amazing cameras and I've really enjoyed shooting with them. But with that said, there are still some really dumb issues that I've noticed over time, and I know most of these issues wouldn't take much to fix. The real point of this video is I'm hoping someone at Sony is able to possibly see it and do something to resolve at least a few of these issues for myself and everyone else who owns these cameras. Okay, so the number one biggest issue that I found very limiting with these cameras is that when you're shooting in 4K as well as outputting to an external monitor, your camera settings as well as peaking and zebras are not mirrored to the monitor, making it very impractical to use any monitor at all when shooting 4K. Oddly, when shooting in 1080p, this issue disappears completely and the screen mirrors as it should. But obviously, professionals are going to want to shoot 4K and not compromise that much on resolution. I'm giving Sony the benefit of the doubt that they didn't do this on purpose to, say, increase sales of their a7R2 or a7S2, or even their own video monitor, which I'm not even sure would solve this issue as it still uses HDMI and I don't own one to test it out personally. So I'm really hoping this is just a glitch. If I had to pick one thing that Sony really needs to fix above everything else, this would be it. I mean, these are professional video cameras, and this shouldn't be a problem they should have. If it is a limitation as far as what this camera can handle while shooting 4K, I'd say find a workaround to make it work. Make it easier on the camera. Even if the resolution outputted to the monitor had to be 720p or lower, I would prefer that. Because as it is, using an external monitor is completely pointless when using 4K. Moving on, number two kind of ties in with the first one in a way. These cameras have a setting to increase the brightness of the screen. However, when you're shooting in 4K, it lowers the brightness back down, which makes using this camera outside without an external monitor extremely difficult, unless you're using a viewfinder, which I'm sure everyone will agree is not always practical. And as I said, even using an external monitor doesn't really solve this problem unless you're shooting in 1080p, as you can't see any of your settings on it when shooting 4K. So please, Sony, listen to us, the community that buys your products, and release a firmware update that solves these two problems in particular. Okay, number three. Sony's remote camera app for iOS and Android is just plain awful and needs a lot of work. You get almost no control over the camera through your phone, as you can't adjust aperture, shutter speed, ISO through it, or even see any of these settings for that matter. All you get is a crude exposure compensation adjustment. On top of that, you can't use picture profiles in this mode, such as S-Log2 and S-Log3. And I've noticed there's actually no way to set audio levels manually, so as a result, the auto gain control of the camera tends to clip the audio frequently, making this even more impractical. I know this would be a lot more work to fix than the first two issues, as everything's transferred over Wi-Fi and these apps require a lot of development. But I think everyone would agree with me that this app is pretty unusable as it is and definitely needs to be reworked. Now on to number four. I'd like to see the option to be able to set picture profiles for video mode and photo mode separately. The reason for this is when you're shooting S-Log2 or 3 in video, you're locked to 800 ISO. Even when you're taking pictures, it is easy enough to turn picture profiles off every time you want to take a picture. But I alternate a lot between taking videos as well as photos, and it becomes very tedious having to do this every single time. Adding in a way to separate picture profiles based on whether you're shooting in a picture or a video mode would solve this problem, and I know it would be very easy to do. Okay, number five on my wish list would be to do with the sensor that detects whether you're looking through the viewfinder or at the LCD. I personally program my custom 1 button on my a6500 to switch between the viewfinder and the monitor manually, as I find it pretty annoying how it automatically switches all the time. So yeah, there's no issues there, that works great. However, what I've noticed is despite the fact I have the camera set to basically not automatically switch between the two. That sensor still remains on, which I noticed when I was recording a video of the back of my camera for one of my reviews. And you can see the IR light on the back of it. The reason this is an issue is it puts excess drain on the battery, and as we all know too well, we need to really conserve the battery on these cameras. It's a small thing, but in the long run, I really think it would help out as far as battery life goes, and I'm sure it'd be pretty easy to fix. Okay, number 6. This isn't so much of an issue with this camera, rather than just a suggestion for a small feature I think this camera could really benefit a lot of having. I think it'd be really nice to have the option to basically cancel a video recording by, say, pressing the trash cam button instead of the record button to save it on your camera. Obviously, there would need to be like a warning box that would have to pop up saying cancel recording. But the reason this would be a really nice feature is sometimes when you're filming, you have a bad take and you know right away you're not going to keep it. And it is true that, of course, you can first save the file, then press the play button, and then delete it. But I think that this would be a great way to kind of streamline that process. I can't tell you how many times I've finished a shoot, hadn't had time to go and delete every single one at the time, and I had to go through like a million bad takes, watching every single one, and deleting all the ones I didn't need. Okay, and finally on to number 7. This only applies to the a6500, but I'd really like to see the touchscreen integrated better. For one, you may not know this, but Sony did actually code a touchscreen keyboard into the 6500, which comes into play very rarely when you need to type things in. However, there are times when you have to type things in, but it doesn't pop up for whatever reason. Instead, it uses basically the older one the a6300 had. It's not a big issue, but it does come off a little bit lazy, and I'm sure it'd be pretty easy to fix. But that's just about all the big gripes I have with these two cameras. And if anyone at Sony is watching this, I definitely say that I know for a fact that fixing just a few of these issues would make a6300 and 6500 owners very, very happy. Once again, if I had to choose 2 of these issues that need to be fixed way more than the others, it would definitely be to do with the issue with the monitor not mirroring correctly when you're shooting in 4K, as well as the brightness being limited in 4K as well. So anyways, thank you guys very much for watching this, and make sure to leave your feedback in the comments section below, and also make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. Happy shooting, friends.